Good evening, Dr. T. Here's my assignment on ethics for you. I typed in refugees in the United States. Looking at stories, it does not take long to see how one views refugees in the United States and how it can vary from story to story, using emotional arguments on the respective sides of the issue. Both sides have used emotions to attempt to persuade why letting more refugees in the United States is a good thing or not a good thing, and they use that in some very unethical manners. Some stories use facts and figures to present the information without using an emotional or an unethical viewpoint. One story I saw on the Council for Foreign Relations defined the issue, give context to how the United States has handled refugees in its history, the steps a refugee has to take to come to the United States, and some of the security risks posed by refugees. It was very similar kind of to what my speech was, just with some different viewpoints presented. There was a story from the American Immigration Council that showcased facts and figures about the refugees within the world and the United States, as well as what it takes for a refugee to come to the United States. These stories were very ethical. They presented the facts just as they were, without attempting to persuade a reader to one side or the other. I saw another story on NBC News that was very factual, just stated the facts about what refugees are coming to the United States, and kind of went from there. Another article I saw was in Psychology Today. It was factual, but it flirted with being unethical at the end, where it started to use more emotional arguments to persuade readers why you should be in favor of refugees coming to the United States. Then there was a couple others I saw that were very unethical. One from the New York Times and one from the Washington Times. The article in the New York Times was particularly critical about the recent policy change from the Trump administration that limits refugees. In that article, it led off with a quote advocating for more refugees, and then was very bland about the policy, about statements from the administration about why the policy changed. Then they used more pro-refugee sources and information to finish up the article. The article in the Washington Times was about the complete one opposite, or complete 180, in that it was very favorable to the administration and didn't exactly present a good counterpoint. I think both were very unethical in that they were not hiding their bias towards what they believed in that particular issue, and were not very forthright about discussing both sides of the issue fairly. I think the unethical approach can be remedied by talking about policy changes, simply by stating the change, and then using quotes from both sides of the issue and presenting it without. And the writer can do his part by making sure it does not sound biased in how he's writing the story. That's definitely a challenge as a writer to make. The one that I always took very seriously, to make sure I was presenting things in a fair and accurate information. Well, I hope this works. Thanks, and have a good night.